Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to yet another episode of Jim's 5am Club. It's Wednesday morning, it's still dark, it's around 5:30. It's a little bit cooler than some of the previous days, and it's autumn here in Sydney town. I'm down here at Cockle Bay and just being given company here of these wonderful Brolga statues, this wonderful installation around this pond, this mystical billabong, and the Brolgas are expressing their happiness, their joy. What I want to do today is go on a typical walk and talk like I normally do on Jim's 5am Club, and go through another book summary. I've delivered 1,500 vlogs. This is number 1498, and I've generated a massive library, a massive series of observations, of learnings, which cover a variety of topics, a variety of books. And what I typically do on a daily basis, just like I did this morning, is I catch the bus to work, and on the way in, on the bus, I will take some notes, having read a book summary. I haven't read the book, but I've read a book summary that is available online. I just search for different book summaries and I read those summaries, take some notes, try and pick out 2 or 3 key lessons, 2 or 3 key points, and then take those points and try and then build a lesson around the OPE, the other people's experiences, the other people's observations. Because when people write books, when people sit down to write books, to put documentaries together, there is a level of deep thought that goes into it, which makes those things even more special. Because when a person goes into deep thought and captures it and documents it, then you're really touching their soul, because they are touching their soul. They're delving deep into their soul to be able to put together the material that they have. And today I'll be going through a book entitled Meditations on First Philosophy by a renowned French philosopher, Rene Descartes. And it's quite amazing to think that in 2023 we can look back and tap into some of the learnings from a person who lived hundreds of years ago, and to be comforted with the knowledge that the observations, the lessons that Rene Descartes came up with back then are as timely and as useful today as what they've ever been, and no doubt as timely and as useful as the philosophical musings of the philosophers back in ancient Greece and back in ancient times, philosophers who have lived around the world and who have made observations. Because at the end of the day, human nature, human behaviour hasn't changed all that much. We are pretty well fixed in our behaviours. We have our passions, our vices, and we also have our virtues, and those competing elements continue to shape our lives, continue to define who we are through our actions, and also influence the world around us, the communities around us, our interactions with other people. Anyway, after that long-winded introduction, the prologue that goes forever, I want to start talking a little bit more about this book and see what sort of gems we can extract, what morsels we can savour of the lessons from Rene Descartes. So the first message that comes from this author is where he basically says that doubt, self-doubt, is the origin of wisdom. A very powerful starting point to consider and to ponder, and to think that Rene Descartes lived in 1600, around about 1641. He's considered to be the father of modern Western philosophy, a carry-on from the philosophies that came before him. So in terms of the lessons that come from this book, the first key lesson that we should ponder and think about, according to Rene, is that we simply shouldn't trust our senses without questioning them. You can't build your view and understanding of the world on lies. So what Rene Descartes here is saying is that we need to be diligent, we need to be discerning, we need to have a guard standing at our minds all the time to make sure that our minds are not too open and receive too many stimuli, because there is a trap with having an open mind, because if your mind is open and you're not discerning, sooner or later your mind will become an open garbage tip that will receive all the rubbish that other people have to deposit there. So we need to be on guard, I guess, is the first lesson to our mind, and to not trust our senses, not trust the messages, the lessons that come our way, especially in 2023, when we have much more data, much more information being thrown, being thrust, being foisted upon us from all these different sources, from different people, from different media outlets, sources that some are learned, some are valuable, but many are rubbish. Because as we mentioned on other blogs, everybody is entitled to their opinion, but not all opinions carry the same weight. Not all opinions are learned. Not all opinions are evidence and fact-based. So the key learning, the key calling from Rene Descartes is to stand on guard at your mind, else you become a prisoner of the rubbish and the conspiracy theories that you get infected with. So stand on guard, be on guard, and don't believe everything your senses tell you. Don't believe everything that the media tells you. Because dreams seem real, but they may never happen. So in summary, the big lesson from Rene Descartes is a basic one. Not everything we see, hear or feel is real. There is plenty on the internet which is fake. There are many things that have so-called facts behind them. There are many so-called experts who are not all that expert in what they're saying, but we've got to take things with a grain of salt. And as another book that I read the other day said, we need to be worldly in our education. We need to read from many, many different sources so that we can build a perspective, so that we can compare and contrast what we know with what other people know, and be able to then critically evaluate what is going on, what we're reading, and to see if it aligns with our beliefs, with our values, with our actions, and with our experiences. Because at the end of the day, everybody's going to have a different life. Everybody's going to have lived a different past. Everybody's going to live a different now. I am here, you're somewhere else. And we're all going to live a different future. And the slithers of reality that we come across throughout our lives are going to shape our worldview in many ways. But not all those slithers of reality will carry the same weight. Not all those slithers of reality will be the truth. So we need to be vigilant, and we need to test our hypothesis, knowing that the more we know about something, the less chance we have of testing whether or not it's right or wrong. Because what happens is we become emotionally attached to all of those things, and it's harder, much, much harder to give up on something or to find wrong in something once you've believed it for too long. So Rene Descartes says that thinking, the ability to think, is the best proof of existence that we have. And his main quote that comes from his writings is, "I think, therefore I am." So he's the father of that quote, a very, very profound and powerful quote. And I remember years ago, a friend of mine, Bill Maywis, said in just passing that you are what you focus on. And that's basically an extension of this quote, "I think, therefore I am." So what we obsess on, what we think about, what we ruminate on, the stories that we tell ourselves over and over again, eventually become our reality, eventually become our definition of who we are and how our life is and how we see life and how we evaluate life. So we need to be careful. We need to be careful about what we think about, how we think about it, and the stories that we tell ourselves. And the author here, Rene Descartes, says that the only real thing we have is our ability to think and reflect. And interestingly enough, the science in the world informs us that whatever our brain perceives, whatever you tell your brain, it believes, whether or not it is true or not. Because anything that we take in, if you take it in with emotion and if you believe it, then our reticular activating system will provide evidence to support whatever thought we have, whether or not it's right or whether or not it's wrong. So be careful what you think about, be careful what you focus on, because those things, as I mentioned before, will end up being the prisons or the liberators of you in your life, and it's better to be cautious and to be productive in your thinking abilities and processes, so that you don't get caught up in the vortex of negativity and the vortex of doubt. And at the end of the day, we're all called to make judgments about the things that we see and the proof of our own existence. So don't be afraid to think, don't be afraid to challenge your thoughts and the thoughts that other people have, because as we say, not everybody is learned and not everybody's opinion is heavyweight. We are surrounded by lots and lots of people who are defined as influencers, and yet their opinions are featherweight and will lead you down the garden path to a place that you don't want to visit at the end of the day. So the author finishes off with the last point, where he says that everything in the world can be put into one of three categories of truth. Our brain is reliable. There is no doubt that our ability to think, that our rational soul is true. We have ability to think, we have ability to be logical, but everything in the world can be put into one of these three categories. Our brain is reliable, but our senses, our feelings, are not reliable. So what happens, according to Rene Descartes, is that we get fooled, we get tricked by our senses. And he goes through these three levels, the three levels of truth. And the first level of truth are the things that you can explain using your mind. So the truth of the things that you can explain using your mind. So depending on your mind, to be able to logically go through and evaluate the evidence and determine whether something is true or false. But once again, it all depends on the validity of the evidence that you're using to explain to yourself what is going on. And we've got to understand that we've got marketeers, we've got legal people, we've got leaders, we've got organisations that are all pushing different agendas, different conspiracy theories, different truths, and they are all very, very smart and all very, very good at manipulating evidence, and they can trick us as well. So not everything that they say, not everything that appears on the internet, not everything that appears on Twitter is real, but we need to be careful. So be careful how you explain things to yourself, and make sure that you're able to use a trusted source, to use a source where that you can bank on, I guess. And I guess a lot of the things that I like to use as a source for me is the church, and to use that as the basis of all truth. The second level of truth, according to the author, is the truth of things that can be explained using your senses. How you feel about things. Your gut feel, for example, can tell you whether or not something is right or something is wrong, because what is happening is that you're using, or you're tapping into your subconscious, you're tapping into your ability to read more than what is said, more than what is written, to be able to look at the body language and assess things like that. and to basically scour the universe using your subconscious to do the sniff test or the pub test as to whether or not something is real or not, knowing very well that there are marketeers who are all too good and experienced at playing with people's emotions, playing with people's senses, and tricking them into thinking that something is real when it is actually not that real at all. So we need to be on guard that we are being played by marketeers and advertisers and various organisations. And the last level of truth that the author talks about here is where you can explain things using a mix of your mind and your senses. So in terms of validity, what the author here talks about is that level 1 is the most sound. So being able to explain something and depending on your mind is the highest level of being able to validate whether or not something is truth or not truth. It's the most sound according to Rene Descartes, and maths is so rational. By combining maths, astronomy, geometry, you can do special things. Level 2, when you're trying to use your senses to determine whether or not something is real and truthful, he says, yes, you can use it, but you are depending on faulty senses because it can be faulty. Usually a lot of people, when they fall in love because of the feeling that they get, but that feeling could be faulty. A lot of the things can be faulty and can be manipulated, according to this author. And the level 3 is where you're using both your mind and your senses. But once again, the reality, the truth within the world can be manipulated, and the brain can't tell the difference between something that is vividly imagined and something that is real. So sometimes we convince ourselves that things are real, that things are happening, but it's actually just ourselves convincing ourselves. Now we are in love with the thought of being in love, and depending on where you are, depending on the environment you're in, can create feelings, and those feelings could be a figment of your imagination, can, as I said before, be a figment of reality. Just a couple of weeks ago we had the Pride movement here in Australia, and everywhere you looked were rainbow colours, rainbow flags, rainbow people who had travelled from all over the world, people who had travelled from all over Australia to descend on Sydney. And you could be mistaken to think that everybody is LGBTQI asterisk, but it was all a facade. It was all just a figment of one's imagination, because it was something that was made to appear real, made to appear bigger, grander, better than what it actually is. But as I said, once you look behind the curtain, as we saw in The Wizard of Oz, it's just a few people playing the system, manipulating the media, making it look bigger, better than what it is. And a lot of people get sucked in, of course, thinking that this is the lifestyle that I want to live, this is who I want to be, because of what they've seen, only to realise that once the party is over, that they are lonely, they are isolated, and the world isn't quite as bright and colourful as what they once thought it was on that particular night or that particular moment where they got caught up in their emotions. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there. Once again, a fantastic book I never cease to amaze myself with the material that I come across. There are just so many books, there is so much wisdom out there, and as one of the spiritual leaders that I follow, Rene Descartes, said that even Christians need to challenge themselves and challenge their beliefs, and we're all invited to read widely, to read as much as you can, so that you can compare and contrast, so you can gain valuable, deep, broad perspective to be able to identify and recalibrate the truth that one has, but to be able to read with an open heart, not necessarily with an open mind, with an open heart, because at the end of the day the truth will reveal itself. Like the onion, the more you peel, the more you read, the more you discover, the more you dig, the more you're going to learn. And learning is the art of attaching the unknown to the known. But as I say, we need to be truthful in our academic pursuits, but we also need to have an open heart and to read with respect, but not to be overly open-minded, else we get manipulated and get sucked into, as I said before, a vortex of fear, uncertainty and doubt. Anyway, take care everybody, wishing you all the best, and may we continue to learn, may we continue to grow, and may we live, learn and pass it on to other generations, because at the end of the day we are all called to take what we have and to use it in order to create a better world and a better life. Take care everybody, yassas, and bye for now.